Yesterday I had a technical talk about the algorithm and data structures. And today I'm going to talk about the DevOps leadership, transformation, the examples and the true stories about the transformation. My name is Andriy and I'm a DevOps community lead at NewFire. I'm conference speaker. I'm active member of Microsoft and Stack Overflow communities. I'm also having certifications from DevOps Institute, DevOps Leader and DevOps Foundation, and I'm practicing management 3.0. So maybe most of you know the words transformation, leadership, changes, but how to stick them together and apply to your use case, to your company, to your team, and how to start the changes, the transformation. So according to the McKinsey, 70% of digital transformation and DevOps transformation that is included in digital transformation fails. There are multiple reasons for that, like lack of governance or insufficient trainings. And if we can say more about the failures, Forbes says that even 84% of digital transformation fails. And the same reasons they mention in their report. So let's see why this why fails, because I think it's pretty straightforward, to make the changes, and there are a lot of sources where you can find how to implement this. And yeah, so looking at this slide, the digital transformation steps are pretty straightforward. For example, there are 7 of them, and just understand your problem, prepare the changes, start from small, then map the technologies, and gather the feedback, and then scale and align the transformation or the changes to the other departments step by step. But yes, so the 7 steps, and you know that there are a lot of books are written for this topic. You see the DevOps handbook, DevOps leadership, and all of them describes how to make the DevOps transformation and to make the change management in the software development companies. But I can say that unfortunately that doesn't work. And on the second slide, you saw that it's not really the problem of the steps, it's the problem of the implementation. And talking about the DevOps leadership and talking about the changes. So yeah, many of you know that supportive leadership, supportive DevOps leadership, and destructive leadership. So many of you know that it's not really comfortable to work with in destructive leadership. And there are a lot of examples are shown in this slide, but you know that it is really cool to see the right direction of the DevOps leadership. But unfortunately, in the real life, the people know about that, but you cannot work in this company, in this department, in this team with destructive leadership. And let me give you a real example, as this presentation is about the bad practices and true stories. So imagine the company that has the problems in making the software, with developing the software to their clients. And so the clients needs to wait for updates for months, So the company loses the revenue, the competitors became stronger, and the owners of the company, they understand that they have such problem, no? That there is, they need to change, and they know the steps how to change. So they understand the problem, understand why, understand how to change, but they do not make the change by themselves. So they cannot go to the team and say, hey, you're working from tomorrow, you are working using DevOps, for example, culture, and working using different way of thinking. So what are the examples of the failures? As my experience, so I can say that it is similar problems with this and similar issues. So how can we describe these errors and describe these issues? This is not really the one particular example, but this is the examples that I can tell you that are typical for many of the companies and many of the teams. So regarding the companies, when the company start the transformation, for example, the CEO says that to the managers of the teams, or the manager of one of the teams, that he should make the change, the transformation. He described the vision, but one of the main issues that he gives him the information, but he gives him he doesn't give the instruments and the power to make the changes. So the manager can want to make the changes, but he cannot without the power to do the changes. And trying to change too much and too fast, because the CEO, for example, said that you have only 3 months, but you know that culture change, it needs at least half a year. So you should understand your team, understand their values, understand the values of the company, and to align them together and to evolve your team. It's not the really fast process. Also, not changing enough, because the manager says, oh, I can make this step of changing culture, then changing the technology stack, or and then making getting the feedback, but they're going too slow, and the changes also can fail, because the company wants to implement the changes as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. Also, the lack of training. It's the really common mistake for all the company that fails, that makes the transformation to fail. They do not give the trainings to their people, managers, and this is the lack of knowledge and the lack of communication. This we talked about the examples of the problems at the company level, but let's go a bit deeper, let's say, and we'll talk about the problems at the team level. So, for example, the CEO comes to the team manager and says, so you know that we decided your team to be the first team that we start the transformation. And the main mistakes and the main problems that I saw in different teams, so how the manager or the leader is acting, and the bad examples of that. He's breaking promises. For example, he can say, John, you will work with, for example, Azure, right? And because we are going to the new cloud. And in few months, he assigned these tasks to another person. And John, so it's confusing for them, because the manager said that he would work with the Azure cloud. Not resolving the conflicts. For example, there is a not formal leader or the senior one, and he tries to make a lot of good things, but he doesn't allow other team members to grow. He wants more power, and there could be conflicts. There is no, let's say, Racine matrix. Yeah, I will tell you about that in the next slide. And there is a conflict, and manager cannot resolve this. He, in one particular example, when the problem occurs, he try not see this problem at all. At the second attempt, he says, "Oh no, John. For example, the Mike is his solution is better despite your opinion is good, but also the onboarding training. It's a cool example of how the people can fail their journey in the company, because without the onboarding training, the person starts without no knowledge, and he try to do one task, second task, third task, and he doesn't understand the whole picture. And I saw example that the person that was working in the company for 1 year didn't know about the system itself, because the system was not really big. Why? Because nobody gave him the training, and he just worked with a small task, and he didn't have the understanding. So let's move on. And another thing is poor communication. Poor communication inside the team, between other teams, and this behavior of poor communication. So, for example, one team member made a change, breaking change, and didn't say anything to other, and other people are struggling with the error they didn't know, and in few days occurs that another member, let's say Mike, he made the changes and didn't say anybody, and it's lose of time. Yes, in words of lean, it's waste of time, waste of resources. Micromanagement, it's also one of the bad examples I saw in many projects. When the leader or the senior, they're acting like paternalists. They are thinking that I know more, I know better, and I can give you just a code, and you will just copy and paste. But in my particular example, and in my in many of the cases, there was a problem that code didn't work, or the people were not really satisfied and frustrated about that. They just need to copy and paste, and that's all, and without thinking about the task and the problem. So another thing is the skills knowledge, and the manager that doesn't know about the skills of his team and his team. Let's say he can, for example, say the DBA, may you please write some Ansible code and make the automation for the task, and the DBA saw this DBA thinks, what, I didn't work with Ansible ever, and he had to learn it, and he will make a task maybe in few weeks, instead of assign this task to the person that has cool automation skills, and make this task in few hours, or let's say a day. And management instruments, it's also a cool example of how the manager can fail the transformation, because that there is an example of Racine matrix, and if you understand this instrument can make a power to resolve the conflicts in the team, and to assign the responsibilities to the team. But if you make this instrument and show to the team and then breaking promises, the transformation will fail. So You know that I described a lot of examples of poor leadership, and any of them could lead to the DevOps transformation failures. Even if you have only one or two from this example, there will be a problem. And finally, I can say that everything is really important. There is no small things that can be avoided and can be ignored. And you know that I think many of you saw these quotes and know that if you train the people, they will grow and they will evolve your company. But if you won't train your people, your company will stay at least at the same level, or the level or the concurrents will be faster, will be more productive than your team, and your team and your company, and your company will lose the money, lose the revenue, lose the clients. So what I want to say that everything is important in DevOps transformation, and there is nothing I can say can be avoided. So please make changes, make transformation, and I hope you will do the best. You can find me on LinkedIn, and if you're interested in this topic, please contact with me and we can discuss it. Thank you very much.